Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Owensboro Board of Commissioners regular meeting, April 19, 2022. At this time, we'll ask the City Clerk, Beth Davis, to please call the roll.
Commissioner Jeff Sanford.
Here.
Commissioner Mark Caslen.
Here.
Mayor Tom Watson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Larry Maglinger.
Here.
Commissioner Bob Glenn.
Here.
Thank you. At this time, we'll have the invocation and the pledge by Commissioner Mark Caslen. Please stand.
We thank you, Lord, for this day. We thank you for our health and this great country that we live in. We ask that you guide us through this meeting and that you fill us with wisdom. When we ask that you watch over the world leaders to help them to promote peace throughout the world. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on the agenda is a National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week Proclamation. I know we have Paul here, and I'll read this, and I'll come down and we'll present it and get a picture made and make you look good, okay? All right. City of Owensboro Proclamation. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of the police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. Whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of the information obtained from citizens who telephone the Owensboro-Davis County Emergency Communications Center. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunications are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them with information and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of Owensboro-Davis County 911 Dispatch Center have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year, now therefore I, Thomas Hart Watson, Mayor of the City of Owensboro, do hereby proclaim April 10th through the 16th, 2022 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Owensboro in honor of men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city safe. Okay, Mark.
Sorry, I was listening to the radio.
You don't have a radio?
I was listening to it.
Oh, look, I take a picture. You're part of this story. See? Yes, are you ready? This is Rick. Thank you.
Mayor Watson, Commissioner, I just wanted to personally thank you for the proclamation. It's have a great staff, and I'm proud of what they do every day for the community and for the officers and for the firefighters and for the EMS. They work hard every day, and they dedicate their lives, and they miss holidays, Christmas. They miss a lot with their families because they care about what they do. And I'm proud of what they do, and thank you for recognizing it.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Okay, next item on the agenda is 4B, Transit Study Update. Stephen Franklin with the new haircut, Public Works Director. A little trim, didn't you, baby?
A little trim, little
All
trim.
right.
Mayor, Commission, Stephen Franklin, Director of Public Works. And with me today, I've got Pamela Canary. She's the Transit Manager. And before we get going, I just want to take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank Pamela for the work she's done through this study. It was a real thorough study, and it required a lot of time, energy, and effort on her behalf, whether it was answering questions or gathering data or participating in public outreach. She did a tremendous job. I just want to thank her for that. So today, Pamela and I, we will be briefing you on the recent transit study that we completed, and we're really going to hone in on the recommended route modifications. So some of the goals and objectives is we wanted to identify improvements that we could implement that would help make transit operations more efficient and more effective. We want to increase utilization of the transit services. We want to enhance efficiencies and reliability of transit services. And we want to improve mobility within the transit service area. I also like to note that the recommended changes will not require us to add any additional staff or buses. I'm going to go to the next slide, please. Oh, I got it right here. So currently, our existing network, we operate 8 fixed routes and 1 trolley route, and they all provide service to and from the main hub, which is located in the downtown area. The recommended network, it will operate 8 fixed routes and 1 trolley route, which 2 will operate and provide services to and from the main hub in the downtown location. Here you'll see a map of the recommended network. The 2 maps are the same. The only thing is the map on your right, you'll notice that there's a black line that's outlining all the routes. And what that is that's a 1/4 mile buffer, and that helps illustrate the coverage area of the service that we provide. Pamela, she's going to touch on this in just a moment, but I will take this opportunity to highlight one change that we're going to be implementing, and that's going to be 3 new transfer hubs, which will allow riders to transfer from one route to another route without having to travel all the way back to the main hub in the downtown location. So that's just going to make the riders get to their destinations a little bit quicker. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Pamela. She's going to discuss some of the highlighted changes, and she'll discuss the steps as we move forward.
Mayor, Commissioners, thank you for having me tonight. We'll start with the improving access for jobs. The proposed changes that will improve access to jobs are as follows. The green route will serve Ragu Drive in both directions, improving transit services for workers at Hunter Douglas, Amico, and many other employers on the east, that's east of Parrish Avenue. The yellow route will serve Air Park Drive, which we provide transit service to major, that will provide transit service to major employers and their workers. Currently, we do not service Air Park Drive. The route will be bidirectional, traveling the same pattern back to the bus station, allowing workers to travel Carter Road, Starlight Drive, Parrish Avenue, and Frederica. We will have a new route, which is the Violet route. That will also service Air Park Drive and those major employers. The route will also be bidirectional, the same pattern back to the bus station, allowing workers to travel Tamarack Road, Lewis Lane, Sherm Road, Booth Avenue, and Frederica. Enhancing the network connectivity. Currently, upon boarding the bus, the riders must ride the entire bus route to the station in order to transfer to another route. The route transfer points will be added to decrease the travel time for the rider. Those transfer points will be if you start from left, the stars are marking those transfer points. So start from your left. Violet and yellow at the Air Park Drive yellow and blue at Starlight Drive, pink and green at Villa Point, and in the middle is the bus station. We will also enhance the efficiency by removing some of the low productivity segments based on the issues and needs consistently expressed by our stakeholders and public. The goal of improving efficiency was developed to help govern the process of the redesign. The improved efficiency will focus on eliminating low productive segments. The white route has the lowest number of riders historically. For example, the total number of riders on white last fiscal year was only 12,000 out of 213,000. You will see on the slide the white route along with colored dots that represent the bus stops on that route. The black dots represent an average of 0 riders daily. The green is 1 to 3 riders daily. There are no stops that average more than 3 riders daily, except at the hospital, which would not be eliminated, but serviced by the pink route. By eliminating the white route, we will be able to reallocate resources to key routes to enhance frequency and better provide better service to manufacturing companies and housing complexes. In order to improve on-time performance, the existing green route has some of the highest number of ridership. However, the route performance is impacted by trying to serve too many destinations. Highway 54 traffic during certain times of the day make it impossible for green to get back to the station within the 45-minute allotted time. When it arrives late, it can hold up other routes from leaving the station, which decreases the on-time performance of all the routes. To improve on-time performance, it is proposed that the current green route be separated into green and pink. And you'll see on the slide the pink route, the new pink route, and the new green route. Pink will serve Gateway Commons and Owensboro Health. It will provide service to the Davis County Detention Center as needed. It will provide service to Myers via East Byers Avenue. The green route will serve East 18th, Ragu Drive, Highway 54, Walmart, and Villa Point. A transfer bus stop will also be added on Villa Point to allow passengers to transfer from pink or green. Moving forward, prior to implementing the changes, we will hold a public hearing on May 23rd at 5 p.m. in the Commission Chamber of City Hall to review the proposed changes and hear public comment. We will update maps and signage, provide training to our drivers, and so forth prior to the implementation date. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you're concentrating on Air Park. What is the status of trying to get second shift workers to that area?
The consultants did not recommend extending our hours to that second shift due to the cost that would be involved. Just to increase our service hours by an hour and a half, that could increase our cost for personnel and fuel about $250,000. And then on top of that, that increases our maintenance cost, for tires, oil changes, anything that breaks down. In order to get to that second shift, that's even longer because, a lot of those guys don't leave or go in until 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And it's just not feasible due to the cost and the low ridership. Our last 2 runs currently, we do not normally have that many riders.
Well, I get calls all the time from the folks out there, UniFirst and places like that. You know, they're trying to get the second shift going, or they're having different areas of production that go past the normal 8 hours in the morning, and so they're always asking. And they, you know, I understand that it does cost more, but it also puts people back to work that will work. Has there been any thought of trying to have them locate at one spot and pick them all up at one time and take them back to that so they could go, you know, like park and ride at your airport and stuff? I'm just curious that, I'm sure you've looked at all these things, but this needs to be brought out in this meeting so that the people that are asking these questions can have a definitive answer for it, so they won't keep asking the same questions. Why can't we? I even talked to Grits and asked them, could they do something? You know, if it's a small number, their buses are smaller, obviously, and less expensive. So I just wanted if there's some dialogue or some discussion about this, or do we just give up on it because it's too expensive?
I'm sure that we could get together and talk about it. But as of right now, when we hired the consultants, that was one of the things that we asked them to look into. And again, they said because of cost and you know, the lack of ridership, that it would not be something that they would recommend.
So did they talk to the people in the air park to see?
We had public meetings as well as stakeholder meetings, and they took all the information prior to putting together our network, the results of our network study, and you know, they took all that in consideration, and at the end of the day, when they provided us with our document, it was not something that they recommended.
Well, I hate to blindside you with that, but I get those
right.
calls all the time.
I do too.
I'm sure you do, and we need to try and find some solution to that, because, you know, we have some Afghans that would work at those places. They just don't, you know, they don't have transportation even to get to a pickup spot. So there's just some things that, you know, that come across my desk that I don't have any answers for. And I'm not going to say it costs too much, because that's, you know, that doesn't. We got to figure out. I got to figure out a better answer than that. But obviously, costs are important. But so I just was curious as to what we could do, and would a copy of that consultant's report about the engagement with the air park people be available to the commission?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I would certainly like. I don't know. I would certainly like to have a copy. Not that I'm disputing what you're saying. It gives me ammunition to answer the question.
I
when it comes
completely
back.
understand,
You know,
yes.
I say, well, you know, the consultant said you had 6 people you wanted to hire for the second shift. You know, it's not possible. You'd be better off paying Uber to pick them up, bring them to work. So just, you know, I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No, that's fine.
It becomes a conversation. We even had it in the MPO the other day, I think, you know, about trying to get some access out there, and so I appreciate the work that you're doing. You're doing
Thank
a
you.
good job, and you help me out with grants, and I help you out with grants. And
Yes.
It's always important. And that, where are you going to park that great big old electric bus? Where are you going to park that thing?
It fits in the garage, barely,
Does
but
it?
it fits, yes.
Or does
yes.
it fit on the street? Where?
It does, but it's going to be assigned to some of our seasoned drivers, because it is 5 feet longer, and it's 11 feet by 3 inches tall, so it's pretty big.
East.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was worried about that turn there where the transit is. I'm getting on the, what is that, 5th, 4th, 3rd, whatever it is.
Allen.
Yeah, that was kind of concerning. Had to park that thing in that parking lot, I guess, and load them up over there. But anybody else have any questions? Commissioner Sample?
Pamela, was there any kind of discussion on the main hub? I don't know if that was part of this discussion.
Jeff, turn your mic on, please. All right. It's okay.
Can you hear me now? Okay. The main hub, there's been talk in the past about moving it somewhere. Did that come up at all? Because it's still awfully tight. A new bus, there's not a lot of room. Or would that change the whole study that was done, or?
We haven't looked into moving There was some, they proposed a central location, but there wasn't any specific sites, just, something centrally located. And right now, we've been focused on, getting these routes modified and getting them in place.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Glenn?
So the cost of fuel has obviously gone up. How are you and your department, are you looking at any innovate? The electric bus sounds like it'll be help in that regard a little bit, at least on one route. Do you know what route you're gonna put the electric bus on? Let's start with that.
It will travel all the various
Keep going
routes.
on.
It'll go in the same rotation as our current fleet.
Okay, and then fuel, how are you addressing that? I mean, it's above $3 a gallon and could skyrocket over $4 this summer.
We've had to do some budget adjustments, and move some money around, because we are at our top for our budget, and, because it was a little unexpected for it to be so high. But we're managing.
So you don't have to anticipate any fare increases. And then the last question I've got is the hubs that you're putting in these different places. So give us a picture of what that would look like. I mean, we know what the bus center looks like right down here. It's a pretty large facility. And so the hubs at Via Point, some of the places, what will they be? A kiosk?
It'll be a standard shelter with a trash can and the normal signage. Nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing any different than what you would see at any other bus stop that has a shelter.
Okay, basically a shelter center. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank
Keep up the
you.
good work. And
Thank
thank you,
you.
Mayor.
You're welcome. Commissioner Castleton?
Yeah, I've had several complaints about the buses shutting down too soon out 54 area. People that work in the stores out there, the stores typically don't close until about 9 o'clock. What's the cutoff time for the buses?
The last run is at 6:45, and so the drivers are complete that route around 7:30, 7:40.
How about the ridership out in that area? Is it?
It's one of the highest routes that we have. It's next to the highest. Brown is the highest, which is Frederica Street. We still have a large majority of our clients that travel Frederica.
Was there any kind of indication that they would suggest extending the hours out 54 area, or they probably didn't even mention anything like that, did they?
They had recommended possibly expanding the hours by 2 runs, but nothing, that would be an extra hour and a half, but nothing beyond that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we've been talking about possibly moving transit for a couple of years now, is that right? City manager?
I think it's been talked about off and on, Mayor, for probably the better part of a decade.
Okay. Well, I wasn't here back then, so I'm just going by. Has any consideration next to the police department been to locate it there? It's pretty centrally located. I know that when I was here a long time ago, there was a brownfield issue on that lot or something where some leakage went underneath the 9th and came underneath the dugout and went back the other way. Is that precluded from federal approval?
Good question, Mayor. I don't know that we've looked at that site specifically. Certainly we've not since I've been here either. Chief, I do believe that one time the city owned that, but I think it's subsequently been sold to a private party, so I don't think we even own that. Didn't we sell that property next door? Yeah, so I mean, we could do some due diligence on the site, though.
I just think that'd be kind of a neat spot. It's, pretty centrally located, just curious. What's the question, Commissioner Kent?
What about that property where the old hospital was torn down? Do we own that?
We do not. The hospital board owns that property.
Okay.
And I've asked about that before, and it's for health and spirit and body and all that for the community. That's what they're holding that out for, because there's apartment complexes we're trying to locate there for the residency program. So it's pretty well tied up. On 9th and Triple is what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
There's one thing that I wanted to add. Like Pamela said, they didn't recommend a specific site per se for a new office location, but as Pamela stated, centrally would be beneficial. As Commissioner, as you were speaking on, we're kind of outgrowing our current location. It's kind of a safety issue. When you've got Fish Street and Allen, it really is safety, and we've got large buses. So to move that is a priority, and it's not off the table. It's something we're looking into. But like Pamela said, we're kind of focusing right now on the routes. That'll have the greatest impact on our ridership. But the consultant put this recommendation together that we could build on. So even if we're able to move our office to a more centrally located place, we could still use the recommended routes to coincide with that central location. So we wouldn't have to go back and make major adjustments to the routes, even if we implement them, in a few months.
Okay, good. Thank you. Anything else? All right. Next item on the agenda, Annual Action Plan, Abby Shelton, Community Development Director.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Abby Shelton, Community Development Director. I am happy to present tonight what is almost the culmination of our annual action plan process. We have one more action that we have to take, and that is a municipal order. So tonight I'm here to present to you what we will be continuing on with our consolidated plan. We do have 2 employees in the community development staff, myself and Evan Gogol, who is our housing and grant coordinator. We do take care of the city HUD entitlement grants, community development block grant, and home funds. We do also administer other funds as needed, local economic development grants, historic preservation, and other partnerships throughout the community. We are in the 2nd year of our neighborhood revitalization strategy area in the Northwest. It's a designation by HUD that allows us to have more flexibility with our funds. Since we do not receive a large pot of funds, we do utilize this to make our funding go a longer way. We have used NRSAs in the past in Baptisttown, Old Germantown, Mechanicsville, and Triplet Twist. We do have identifiers that we outlay in our consolidated plan. And through these identifiers and benchmarks, we have managed to input $35 million of public and private funds into the community. We do everything through these funds for the low-income population, and every year HUD puts these income limits out, so we abide by these, and this is how we outlay our funding. 51% of the population in any given area has to be low to moderate income, considered low to moderate income for us to use those funds. These are the boundaries of the Northwest NRSA. They stretch loosely from Walnut Street to Ewing Road, and then from the north side of 5th Street to the municipal boundaries on the north side. When we first started this consolidated plan, it's a 5-year plan. There were 1,083 parcels in the Northwest NRSA, and as part of the qualifications for an NRSA, the majority of the parcels have to be residential, and you can see there that we meet that threshold easily. This is not a completely updated map, but we've had a lot more applications come in for projects, but this just gives you an idea of the smattering of the different projects that we are administering in that area, and it's a good breadth and width of between our rental housing, existing homeowner rehab, and commercial funding. We are, like I said, in the Northwest NRSA, the 2nd year of that programming, and we had an outlay of a total investment for $7.4 million. We have since, if you can see, as of March 1st, 2022, met that threshold and exceeded it with $8.472 million invested in that area, with $4.4 coming out in public funds and $4 million coming out in private funds. So these are our projects to date, and this was as of last week, so we've actually gotten more projects, which is great. We have existing homeowner exterior rehab, down payment assistance, commercial facade, single-family new build projects, private projects, which they've actually applied and then pulled out and decided to do it with their own funding, rental rehab, single-family family rehabs, and single-family demolitions for 137 projects in that area. And I have a breakdown to the right. You can see the local and private investment. So we do have that investment of $8.4 million, with $2 million coming from the federal outlay and $2.3 coming from the city. So our federal funding outlay for 2022-2023, which is why I'm here today to present to you, we've gone through a Citizens Advisory Committee meeting. First meeting, we had a public comment period for 30 days, which recently ended, and then we had a second public hearing for the Citizens Advisory Committee, which they recommended the plan to the City Commission. So I am presenting that plan for you. You will not approve it today, but this is just for your consideration. You have also received a link to the 72-page document in your emails. I'm happy to print that out for you, review it with you. But I tried to save the city some trees, and I was hitting my budget of printouts, so I'll just email it. So of course, our annual action plan is what it is. It draws from the consolidated plan, which started in 2022, goes to 2025, and it is heavily citizen input driven. We do this annually so we can review our projects and make sure if we have any projects we want to add or change the ship a little bit, the path, we can do that. We have 2 pots of money that we draw from, our Home Investment Partnership Program funds. We have not gotten our allocations as of this year, so we are estimating that based on past year's receipts, we will receive $250,000, and that will be divided among our Down Payment Assistance Program, our Community Housing Development Organization Program, which is currently, the funds are suspended per federal rule, but we are continuing to put that money into our CHODO. Our Home Build Developer Program, which we actually build homes ourselves. Our home administration, we do take a little bit off the top to pay for staff, and then our home buyer education class, so that totals $250,000.
Abby?
Yes, sir.
Where does the $250 come from?
As far as the number, that is just a guess as of right now. Our federal allocation comes from the census itself.
The census, okay,
yes.
that's what I was getting
And
at.
then the census, depending on what the omnibus bill comes out as,
The percentage is working
the percentage
way
is
out,
taken from there. So it's got, knock on wood, gone up every year, and the reports say it's supposed to go up again this year, but it can happen.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No,
but
you're fine. So with that home program funds, like I said, we do new builds, and I'll show you examples of these city-funded new builds. We have a partnership with Habitat where if we have vacant lots, we will donate those lots to Habitat and then give them a small grant to help pay for that construction. We have a 10% down payment assistance program, which has an NRSA focus, but we do go outside of that NRSA, and it's basically based on a census qualified tract. And then a home buyer education program, which home buyers have to take a course to certify themselves before they can receive the grant. These are some of our projects recently completed. 1013 West 8th Street, we had a couple lots that were dilapidated. We were able to purchase those, demolish them. They were vacant, and then build this nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath home for a 5-person family. This is at 1421 Jackson Street, still under construction. It's made significant progress since then. That was a dilapidated building. That's an even nicer picture than what we got it at. But there will be a deserving family going into that lot. And this is our build across the street at 1426 Jackson Street through our CHODO, which is Owensboro Area Affordable Housing Solutions, Inc. And next to that lot, we do have a completed build at 1420 Jackson Street. This is at 618 Elm Street. We do have a buyer for this house. It is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It does have a connected garage to the back. And then if you'll see, that vacant lot is actually where that blue house is. And this was the St. Paul AME Church. We did not demolish that. It was demolished by the church for some structural issues. And then we bought that. We purchased the lots. And to the left of that blue house, you will see, you can't see it right through the picture, but a little bit of it. There's property stakes out there, and Habitat will start a house next to us in the near future. So moving on to our Community Development Block Grant Program funds, we anticipate we'll receive $450,000. We did receive a little bit more last year. So for our 2022 budget, we'll split that between existing homeowner exterior rehab, downspout removal, beautification, safety, and of course take our admin, and then commercial facade grant program for a total of $450,000. To break it down a little bit more, commercial facade rehab is $15,000 grant with a 25% match. Existing homeowners, a max $15,000 grant with sliding scale. So if you make more, you pay a little bit more. If you make less, you pay a little bit less. It's been really successful, actually. And then our other improvements that we'll make in the NRSA is landscape design, sidewalk connections, lighting enhancement, bus stop installations. Thank you, Pamela and Stephen. And our downspout removal program, which we will be bidding out in May. I just got the invite for it. So that will remove basically 130 downspout connections from the combined sewer system in that area. So a little bit that's happened with the CDBG grant work this past year. We do existing homeowner exterior rehab, Dublin Lane. There's a house on Dublin Lane that is a great example. She had a privacy fence installed, siding, downspouts, and gutters. A lot of these exterior rehabs are now asking for tree removal because of the old trees, actually tree trimming and removal, because some of the old trees are impeding them from getting a better rate on their insurance. So we're helping with that. And then, of course, they get roofs out of the deal, so it's nice. And then we actually partnered with Fresh Start for Women for a new set of stairs on their facility. We also are planning to embark on improvements on First Street in 7 intersections going to Hanning Lane, and we are in the design phase right now. We have contracted with a landscape design architect to make those plans for us. Local funding outlay. You were kind enough to give us some local funds to use within the NRSA, and it's been wildly fruitful. We have, let's see, as of today, about $280,000 of the $750 that you set aside for us. So it's been a very successful program. We have 4 programs within the Community Catalyst Grant Program: a single-family new build, which will give up to $15 per square foot; a single-family rehab, which will give up to $12 per square foot for the main dwelling; a rental rehab reimbursement up to $4,000 for landlords to put improvements into their interior and exteriors, and it's 100% match; and a demolition grant program, which will give up to $5,000 with a 100% match. So these are some projects that we've had completed. 76 Woodford was a new build before and after. 112 Sycamore Street, a beautiful rehab. It was gutted on the inside, and I walked in there, I thought, wow, this is going to be a lot of money. He did a great job, was successful. 1532 Her Avenue, this is a great example of using public and private funds. So the owner of this property did a great flip on 1532 Her, and now the first-time home buyer has applied for a down payment assistance grant, which she has received. She has a contract on the property, and so that will be a great addition to that community. 70 Woodford Avenue, before and after. Same person that was doing 1532, older house. She's gutting it on the inside and making some great improvements to sell it home. And that brings me to the conclusion of our annual action plan. I'm putting this in there just really quickly because we are in the first stages of our home ARP public input process. So we are going to receive about $1 million through home ARP funds, and I'd like the public to go ahead and check out Owensboro.org, go to community development, look at the information that's there, and take part in the survey to let us know how they would like us to use those funds. So, like I said, we are nearing our end of a public input process, and we will come back to you with a municipal order to formally approve the plan. That's when the public comment period ended, but I am taking further comments if anybody needs to. Submit any, they can contact me or Evan at the information before you. That's all I have.
Any questions? That's a ton of information.
Sorry. I feel like a
I have to
fire.
unpack that. Yes, sir.
I've got a question. Abby, do we have any new builds in progress right now?
We do one at 618 Elm Street. We have the 1426 Jackson Street. We will be doing one at on Woodford Avenue. We're looking at one hopefully on 1711 Locke Avenue. And then we will be deeding a property hopefully to Habitat soon.
Good, great,
Commissioner Glenn?
thank you.
Yes.
Just a quick question. Habitat for Humanity, in the time you've been Community Development Director, how many houses have we either ceded the land to them or helped them build?
I
'Cause
want to
that's a great
say,
partnership.
yeah, I want to say the last time we put the numbers together, and I can give you more accurate numbers, it was about 130 homes.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Commissioner Caslen?
In your video, you had mentioned that you guys were going to be starting a newsletter to send out to communities.
Yes.
I was just curious, what's your target going to be as far as the newsletters, and when will that start?
So the most effective way to put that newsletter together is now that we've got our federal funding kind of going, we've got more progress with that programming. We are looking at doing a one-page newsletter just to update the Northwest NRSA residents. I don't have the budget to mail the whole city. I wish I did, but it goes a long way because word of mouth is great. Hey, I see my neighbors doing improvements to their home. How do I do that? And I give them the information, obviously, and print it off, email it to them, whatever I need to do. But now that they're seeing the things happening in that area, hopefully they won't just ditch that newsletter and be like, oh, how do I get some more programming? So we're really going to hit that hard and heavy new budget cycle.
Help me, I'm confused. Is NSRA, is that the same thing as we call in Riverview now? Is that two different places?
Okay, so yes, a little confusing. We did do a public input survey, and the areas from around First Street, we're going to do some
Okay.
beautification,
All right.
and that's the NRSA, but it's just a little
Just
bit
a
more
little
condensed.
portion
Yeah.
of it.
NRSA is just a HUD term that we use.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 4D, looks like ARPA project city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, Commissioners, by this point we have talked about ARPA projects and the amount of funding that we received and what are eligible projects several times. As you can see in the left-hand column in front of you, at this point we have only appropriated $2.5 million of those funds for the Ravine Sewer Project for RWRA. That project is bid, and actually it's probably beginning now, if I had to guess. It should be beginning anytime. We've talked about other various projects over the last few months in which you guys have expressed interest, and we've heard presentations on York in particular. That consultant and the city engineer made a very good presentation about that a month or two ago. You had some really good follow-up questions, which we provided answers to. Similarly, Amanda Rogers has presented a couple of times over the last few months about the Craven's Pool projects. And then we've also talked about making a matching contribution to OMU to match that, which we made for RWRA for a similar utility project for our other companion or sister utility. And so just didn't know if you had any questions about these projects. And I'm asking specifically because we do have a budget amendment that we'll bring before you in the May commission meetings, which is just our normal end of fiscal year type budget amendment with cleanup. And so if there is interest in moving these projects forward, this would be an opportune time to do that. If there's interest in doing that, then I do think we should move relatively quickly at this point, just because, as we've heard in talking about fuel and other items, that the costs for these projects are escalating quickly. And so the longer we wait, frankly, the more expensive they're likely to be. So if there is interest in doing that, then I would encourage you to consider potentially appropriating that. So we're just looking for feedback at this point. Are these projects that you at least want to advance, or do you have questions that we could answer for you, or do you have sufficient information available that you're ready to give us the advice or the consent to say to move this one forward? And if you do, again, we'll include that and formally appropriate in our budget amendment next month. So as you can see then, looking at the right-hand column, after the RWA appropriation, that leaves a balance of $10.8 million of ARPA funds remaining. We talked about a matching $2.5 million for OMU. The York drainage was at $5 million. I did put an extra $50,000. I know the city engineer already said, it's probably going up. It's already going to be more. And so similarly, I've increased Craven's by a nominal amount just to account for the inflation over the last few months since we got an updated number. So if you are interested in pursuing those, that would still leave $2.5 million unappropriated that we could reserve for a future project or other needs that may come up over the next few months or years. So really just throwing it out there for any feedback or guidance to these projects that you're ready to proceed with, or do you have questions about them that we can answer for you in order to potentially move them forward or not?
I'd like for you to explain the OMU water tower project, please.
Okay, yeah, happy to, Mayor. And so again, we've appropriated the $2.5 million for RWRA, and I think the discussion had been to do a similar contribution for OMU. The OMU has expressed to me that if we were to do that, their preference as far as their priority project would be to replace the water tower at Hillcrest Golf Course. They feel like that's a needed project. I'm not really prepared to speak to the project, specifically. I just know that they feel like they provide inadequate service and inadequate pressure to residents in that area. So that was the project that OMU identified. The justification would be essentially the same as it was for RWRA. Every OMU ratepayer is a city taxpayer, and so if we don't fund the project, it would just be paid by our citizens on their OMU bill. And so again, utility work was one of the primary impetus included in the federal legislation of why the ARPA funds were provided, was to ensure adequate utility work was available. And so that was the rationale, Mayor.
So it's to replace the existing water tower at the golf course.
That's my understanding. That's correct. And it would be, I feel like they've also shared that design is not optimal, that it would look more like the water tower along the bypass in Frederica, which has a smaller pedestal base and is narrower in its middle and then goes up to a tank, instead of that one, as you may recall, is more of a cylindrical. And so it would be more of a modern design, and which would have operational efficiencies, I think, for them as far as flushing and utilization of the tower.
Well, while we're talking about the unappropriated, give us some examples of what would fall in an ARPA project that's not on this list.
There are some wide categories, and Angela, jump in. So utility projects were certainly one. Some broadband would be eligible. However, I think with OMU providing broadband in the city, that's probably not an eligible use. I know in particular it was for impacted populations from COVID, whether that be health related, whether that be economic related, and workforce related issues as well. Angela, were those the broad category? Well, of course, in revenue replacement as well. And so we've talked about that. And from an accounting perspective, we would actually probably claim all of this as revenue replacement and then appropriate it from the general fund, but that's just more of an accounting measure. But we could potentially just keep any unappropriated portion as revenue replacement for any revenue we might have lost during the COVID pandemic.
Right. Yeah, and you could also use these funds for general government services if you wanted to pay for salaries and benefits of the safety public, first responders, or buildings, fire station, things like that as well. Anything general government services.
Okay. Any other questions? Commissioner Glenn.
Thank you, sir. So Craven's pool, in terms of time frame on these projects, Craven's pool could be started this summer. Is that what I thought I heard earlier in conversation?
It could be started. That would be the goal. I don't think, and Amanda is there, I don't think it would be open for this season. By the time we got the bid documents ready, there aren't a whole lot of pool contractors who do these commercial type projects. And so by the time we got in our schedule for later this year, we would really need to advance it relatively quickly to even probably be able to have it completed and open for the 2023 season, is my thought, Amanda. Is that an accurate assessment?
So probably not this summer. We couldn't get it started this summer.
We could get started, we couldn't get it finished.
Yeah, I know we can't get it finished. It'll be closed for the year. But I just wanted to see if we could get it started. And then York Drainage, any idea on that start time?
Well, I believe, and again, Dirk, jump in, but that is not designed. We've done the analysis and the hydrology, I think maybe was the right term. But if you proceed, we'd have to do the design contract. And Dirk, I don't know if you want to harbor a guess. Was that 3-4 months potentially or more for the design? So that is not fully designed at this point, just some analysis.
Okay. That's correct. You have to design it first.
So you get the analysis to find out how much it is, and then you go back and have a design to see how close you are.
Well, if you remember, they did the analysis to see the impact of the project. Remember, they did the modeling to see if we did the project, here's number of inches or the impact of that, correct?
So, but it still might be different once the design is put in.
Well, I think they assumed what the design would be. They just have to go and basically make the construction documents.
So we're sticking at $5,050,000. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Do you have anything else, City Manager?
No, again, we're looking for additional feedback. Is this something that you want us to advance at this time or not? Again, with the idea being, if we're doing a budget amendment next month, would you like us to appropriate these projects in that budget amendment or not?
Commissioner Sanford?
It's my opinion that myself, I'm ready to move on this, because I think if we wait too long on a lot of things, it's gonna go up. So these are all legitimate things that are, sounds pretty important to me, and I think we've discussed a lot of these, so, and for me, I'm ready to roll.
Mr. Castleton?
I'm with Jeff on that, and,
Okay.
I make the motion, we'll go ahead and move forward with it. I think we're all on board.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I think we need to move forward. We've been talking about these projects, and I think it's time to go.
Okay, and I know,
Yeah, I
Bob,
think we've
you're...
done our due diligence, and I think we're ready to go. Let's do it.
Okay, so we're gonna do these projects, and we're still gonna have 2.5 left, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so you have the direction to move forward
That
with
is
it.
exactly what we're looking for. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Item 4E, City Manager Nate Pagan, City Project List.
So again, these last few items were what we typically do in a work session. We canceled the work session this month, and again, as at all work sessions, we do have the project list for your review. Hope you've had a chance to review that, and we will address any questions or comments about those projects you might have.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Nate, I know that Leland's not here, but what's an update on the transit dock? Do you have that?
I do, and unfortunately Leland is under the weather, so he wasn't able to come today, but he did have a meeting, I know, recently with the design team, and one of the things that he learned that was interesting is that we learned, like in a lot of supply chain related issues, there is a substantial delay on the docks that we would use for a project of this scope that could potentially be 9 months or so across all the manufacturers who do that here in the United States. And so because of that delay, they're recommending if we proceed that we basically split the project into 2 bid packages and to go ahead and bid those docks just to get them started because of the long lead time to get them constructed, and then start on the permitting and the various things with the Division of Water and the Corps of Engineers, because that'll take a decent amount of time as well. And then, so while those docks are being fabricated, and then come back after the permits are in hand and then actually bid the construction of that as a separate bid to where the docks will be there, and then basically the installation and then the related work with the soil stabilization and the access and the other pieces. So essentially splitting that into 2 docks. I know Leland thought that was a good approach, that it was a good plan, and then we would potentially save on some sales tax and issues as well by a direct purchase of those materials. So I think Leland thought that was a good plan.
So, do you have any idea when the documents would be ready for bid? Like just the docks?
It's my understanding they would be ready by the beginning of July.
Thank you.
Well, Commissioner Glenn.
Yes, sir. Just a very quick question. So the firehouse, drove by it the other day. It looks almost like it's complete, but our date is July. Is that still, to complete it, would still be July of this year?
The station, I don't think it's quite that long, is it? I thought it was the end of May.
Says estimated completion July 2022.
It'll probably go into early June, be late May or early June. I was there this morning.
Can't hear you unless you get on the mic.
Yeah, late May, early June is what my understanding is.
Yeah, late May or early June, we should be able to be back in our house. I was there this morning, it looks pretty good. We do need paint on the walls, need trim. Supply chain issues have disrupted some things, but we're pretty much on track. Generators are really hard to get, and new lockers to outfit it. But I'd say here in about a month to month and a half, it's going to be ready to go, from my understanding from talking to the contractor this morning.
Yeah, because when I drove by, it looked like it was all closed off. It looked like you'd made great progress. So
Yeah, looks pretty good, but if you look close up, it needs some work. But they're on track.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, I have a question. When we talked about the transit dock in my office, I said I really wasn't for that unless we did something, one with the Senior Citizen Center and the indoor sports facility. So you put this on there as a design. So are those things off the agenda? Remember when we talked about that? Do you recall that?
The meeting 2 weeks ago? I do recall that, of course, yes.
So I don't see indoor sports or the Senior Citizen Center as a project list. It's not not on the agenda? Not interested, or why is it not here?
Again, I thought we were going to have a conversation to see if that was the plan, and if you guys want to proceed with that, happy to add those to the agenda and start moving them forward.
I guess I was confused when I said I really wasn't ready to participate in the transient boat dock that would, where you might get, because we didn't get the 1.5 big grant, and when we are probably affecting maybe hundreds of people, when indoor sports would maybe affect 1,000, I think was thousands of people. So I I'm just a little confused if we're moving forward with the dock, but we've eliminated indoor sports and as one thing to talk about. Because I think we had a meeting too, and said there was a spot in the mall, and we were going to have a meeting with the people at the mall to see if that was a project we could. Am I just dreaming this, Jeff? You were there.
No, Mayor. What I'd like to do is I'd like to take the staff and have them look at the viability of doing. Now that we have a financial situation where we can do some things, I think we've talked about the sports, indoor sports, and I think it's a situation where now I think we can look at it, and I think we should look at it along with some other things that we've knocked around. And we've talked about the Senior Citizen Center. I think that's another one. I think we have the capability to do a few things here, and I think we need to get the staff to look at every single one of them, and we really need to take a good look at it. The sports facility, I agree. I think it's going to affect a lot of kids and families. And, you talk about kids and things to do during the week, and I've had a lot of young families come up to me and ask me about an indoor sports facility because they go all over the place. And I used to do it. I'm sure you did too with your grandkids. And it would be a great amenity for Owensboro. And I think we've identified some ways we could actually pay for it. And I think all three of those things need to be looked at very hard, and I think we need to act on them quickly. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I agree with Jeff that we ought to look at all three projects and start moving forward, because it's not going to get less costly, and I think it's something we should do.
Okay.
Appreciate that feedback, and we will proceed accordingly.
All right. Now we get back to the business of the meeting, I see. I'll make a motion to consider the approval of minutes of March 15th, 2022, March 29th, 2022. I'll make a motion to approve. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 5B, consider board appointments. Owensboro Davis County Industrial Development Authority Board, reappoint Mark Berry to a 4-year term expiring April the 3rd, 2026. Doesn't seem possible. Owensboro Human Relations Commission, appoint Terry Crow to a 3-year term effective April the 5th, 2022. Owensboro Davis County Regional Airport, appoint Tyler Gold to fill the remainder of an unexpired term which ends October the 2nd, 2024. He'll be replacing the late Joe Bowen. I make a comment about Mr. Gold. He teaches at Davis County. He's got an unbelievable amount of experience in ports and things such as that. I think he's going to be a tremendous asset to the airport. Apollo Area Neighborhood Alliance, Woody Maglinger to fill the remainder unexpired term, which ends June 15, 2023. He's replacing Jonathan Bales. That's all of those. I'll make a motion to approve these. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion on these appointments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. There are no ordinance second reading, no ordinance first reading. Item 8A, consider municipal order. Ms. Davis, I guess.
Yes. Municipal Order 13-2022, A municipal order authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of Owensboro and Ellis Entertainment, LLC, by which the company shall locate a historical horse racing gaming facility in the City of Owensboro in exchange for a rebate of 50% of the general fund occupational fee on gross wages for 5 years. Introduced and read for approval on one reading this 19th day of April 2022.
I'll entertain someone to make a motion, please.
Motion?
Could I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 8B, please, Ms. Davis.
Municipal Order 14-2022, a municipal order renaming Max Rhodes Park at 7th and Walnut Streets to Moneta Sleet Junior Park, introduced and publicly read for approval on one reading this 19th day of April 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve this. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. City manager items.
Mayor Angelo Wanninger will present the financial report through March.
Ms. Waniger.
Yes, Mayor. If we could have the PowerPoint pulled up, please. Thank you. My PowerPoint presentation reports on the general fund activity for the month of, as well as the 9 months ended March. You may refer to page 3 of the financial packet for more information. For our first slide, you will see activity for the month of March. Actual revenues of $4,375,658 were higher than budgeted revenues of $3,499,451. This is primarily due to higher revenues in occupational withholding and net profits. For the 9 months ended March, total actual revenues of $53,651,738 were higher than budgeted revenues of $49,913,870 for a positive variance of $3,737,868. This variance is primarily due to higher occupational withholding and net profits, property taxes, and insurance license fees. Our next slide is the general fund expenditures for the month of March. The actual expenditures of $4,914,909 were lower than budgeted expenditures of $5,590,808 for a variance of $675,899. This is primarily due to timing in maintenance and savings in personnel services. Our general fund expenditures year-to-date March. Actual expenditures of $49,252,859 were less than budgeted expenditures of $52,477,248 for a variance of $3,224,389. This is due to timing in basically all of our categories and savings in personnel services. And just to point out, the savings year-to-date in our personnel services are $877,620. And for our last slide, you can see month by month the city's revenues and expenditures. The expenditures are depicted by the red line and the revenues by the green line. And you can see that the activity is cyclical, meaning that in seasons of warm months, you'll see the expenditures higher. In the months of our property tax collection months, October, November, you can see the green line is pretty high. That's our property tax collection. And for April, you will see the green line move back up. Our tax department's been very busy this week processing net profits. And so they've had tubs and tubs and tubs of mail. And I'd like to report that our year-to-date excess revenues over expenditures is $4,398,879. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions? Okay, I'll make a motion to file the report for audit. Could I have a second, please? Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 9B, City Manager.
Thank you. Tonight we have 3 personnel appointments. Joshua Hoagie, regular, full-time, non-civil service appointment to Parks and Recreation Facility Specialist with Parks and Recreation, effective April 25th. Dana Payne, regular, full-time, non-civil service appointment to Recreation Specialist with the Parks and Recreation Department, effective April 25th. And Joseph Payne, regular, full-time, non-civil service appointment to Laborer Maintenance Helper with the Street Department, effective April 26th.
I'll make a motion to approve these personnel appointments. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Rogers, are some of these, if you wouldn't mind coming up there, I'm sorry. I should have told you I was going to talk to you about it. I was wondering about the hiring of the students or whatever, younger people to help you out in the parks. How's that going?
It's going. It's going. We still need about 55 part-time intermittent employees. That's what we're still looking for, but we have hired about 40 over the last 4 months with HR's assistance, of course. What we're struggling with right now is those people over the age of 18 to fill our supervisor positions. We did open the door to start taking 15-year-olds again. So we're taking 15-year-olds at those locations that don't work year-round, so that we can manage those hours in Kentucky labor laws appropriately. So we're hiring 15-year-olds for our day camp programs and for our pool positions. And right now where the struggle is finding those people that are over the age of 18 that are willing to supervise and work as facility supervisors.
So you're 50 short?
We are 55 positions still short, or in process.
Dang, that's worse than the police department, isn't it, Chief?
This year's been harder because with COVID we lost so many employees because we weren't open everywhere. So we have struggled getting back to kind of full capacity.
So you're advertising in the paper or?
We are. We've been to job fair at Wesleyan, at Brescia. We have sat in cafeterias at some of the local high schools to give paper applications and just let people know that we're hiring. Social media, of course, is a big push. We did radio ads with BKR and WBIO, and I forget all the normal radio stations now.
I don't remember which ones it was either. But you're looking for somebody that lives in Owensboro and Davis County and not going out of hiring people from outside the community, right?
Sometimes we've hired people from like Ohio County or McLean County, the surrounding communities, depending upon their skill level and their fit for the position and their availability to work. But primarily the majority of our applicants are those local young people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Thanks for asking. I appreciate that.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries. Item 9C, City Manager comments.
No comments.
Item 10, communication from elected officials. Commissioner Sanford.
Nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Commissioner Castler.
Yeah, Mayor, I just wanted to point out that that I saw on the news the other night that this is National Donors Month. And, you know, if anybody out there has ever considered donating their organs after they pass, this is just a reminder to go ahead and get the paperwork in place so that you can do that. Every time somebody donates their organs, they typically help 8 families through a very stressful time for the family, and we even have one commissioner here that's benefited from that in the past. So, you know, it's something people might want to consider. Thank you.
Excellent program. I'm in it. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. I hope everybody enjoyed the spring break. I'm glad to get back. Today I attended the Owensboro Business Hall of Fame, and I want to congratulate Martha Clark, the George Greenwell family, and Bill and Scott Jago. To hear their stories were incredible, and we're really lucky to have the business people that we have. And that's all I got.
Commissioner Glenn.
I attended the Northwest Alliance Easter egg event, and.
Did you win?
No, I was observing. No,
No, you
I'm way
observed.
too old to try and find Easter eggs. But it was a very nice event. Want to congratulate the Alliance and the veterans groups and all different groups that came together to make that a success. It ran most of the afternoon on Sunday, and it was a great event. Want to echo Commissioner Maglinger's congratulations to the winners of the Business Hall of Fame. And then finally want to mention visited Greenville, South Carolina, echoes of the past. That was one of the cities that Owensboro looked at when we were looking to do our major modifications on the riverfront. And while Greenville's a lovely community, let me just say, I was glad to get home. And what we've done in Owensboro here is amazing, and we should always be proud of it. I know sometimes we get a little down in the mouth. Let's be proud of what we've accomplished in this community. We have a lot to be proud of. We have a beautiful riverfront and beautiful rehab downtown, and it's only going to keep getting better.
Okay. I have a couple of things I'd like to talk about. First, I'd like to congratulate these 3 young people. They're accepted into the Gatton Academy. Mark, you know something about that, don't you? I think it's pretty cool that 3 local sophomores, Liz Bergen, Jack Smith, and Nolan French, have been accepted to the Gatton Academy of Mathematics and Science, which is on Western Kentucky's campus in Bowling Green. So it's a STEM-based program, and we're pretty fortunate to have the public school system that we have here, both public and parochial, and that's a pretty neat thing. And I know several other people that were nominated as well, and it's a pretty cool deal. You want to talk about it a little bit, Mark?
Yeah, I could briefly. My daughter Maria, who is 16 years old, I guess she just turned 17 actually,
You got so many kids, hard to keep track.
It is,
yeah.
And she attends Gatton Academy, and she loves it. She's taken a lot of higher math and science that wouldn't have been offered at Catholic High, and so she's really enjoyed it. I'd recommend it to anybody who's eligible.
Yeah, this is a tremendous program. Thank you for the comments. Also, I'd like to speak to the Sister Cities program here in Owensboro, Sister Cities and Region. They've established a Ukrainian relief fund, and it's quite obvious that that's going to go on for quite a while. In response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Owensboro Sister Cities and Regions Incorporated, the acronym is OSCAR, has established a relief fund to aid the Ukrainian refugees who have been forced to flee their homes to escape the violence in their country. Our sister city in Olomouc in the Czech Republic has been working closely with its partners in the city of Chernivtsi, Ukraine, to provide humanitarian aid to 50,000 Ukrainians who sought shelter at the refugee camp established at that university. Olomouc has provided shelter to over 5,000 refugees, many of which are women and small children. Most of the Ukrainian refugees in Olomouc have lost everything, and many of them will seek a permanent visa to allow them to reside in Olomouc indefinitely. So in honor of our 30th anniversary of OSCAR, hopes to raise $30,000 for the Ukrainian Relief Fund to reach this goal. We only need, Adrian, we only need 1,000 people to donate $30 each. Owensboro Sister Cities and Regions is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, therefore all donations are tax deductible. If you wish to donate to the OSCAR Ukrainian Relief Fund, please visit owensborosistercities.org or visit any Independence Bank location and ask to make a donation to the Owensboro OSCAR Relief Fund. Donations can also be mailed to the Owensboro Sister Cities and Regions at Post Office Box 10003, Owensboro, Kentucky 42302. So it's a pretty worthwhile deal. We have a young lady here in town who is from the Ukraine, and there have been several companies that have donated things, and actually some hospital supplies, and she's a pretty tough lady. She'll fly them to Chicago and go from Chicago to Warsaw and get out in Poland and take them to the border and actually hand them to a Ukrainian person that can actually get the goods. So if anybody's interested, we'd certainly appreciate, and it is a 501c3 corp, as I said before. And I want to thank Independence Bank for managing that fund. So 1,000 people at $30 each, as Adrian says, will do the deal. So I encourage everyone to participate. Okay, last time in the open public forum, got kind of out of hand. And City Manager, I don't need you to go and apologize to anybody for me getting out of line. I'll be glad to do it. You know, Mr. Zimmerman got upset, so next time, let me apologize myself for making to him, if you don't mind. And we really don't have to do this. We like to do it so that the public can participate in the public forum. So I'll read this, and we're gonna. And it was my fault last week because I started answering questions, and according to what I read, and you were not supposed to, but it feels kind of rude for people to come and talk, and then we just sit here like knots on a log. But that's the only way we're going to be able to do it, to make sure that it doesn't, last and get people upset. So, members of the audience are invited to address the City Commission on any matter of public concern that was not on tonight's agenda. Comments are limited to issues within the scope and responsibility of this commission. Commission meetings are held to conduct city business for the benefit of Owensboro citizens and taxpayers. At this time, anyone who wishes to address the City Commission, please make their way to the podium to be recognized. Speakers must state their name and address for the clerk's record and limit their remarks to 3 minutes or less. Since the item is not on the agenda, no response is required from the city staff or the commission. That's a mistake I made last time. The mayor reserves the right to extend the time limit to the speaker. So if anyone would like to make their way to the podium and speak tonight, help yourself. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Andy Gamblin. I live at 2920 Yale Place, apartment 1705, the Roosevelt House. I know just recently y'all just voted to give a tax break to Ellis Park to bring in this betting parlor. I wish y'all hadn't have done that, because we don't need that here in Owensboro. You know, you were talking about a sports complex for young kids. Yes, we need something like that for our young kids. But the betting parlor, it's going to destroy homes, it's going to destroy family, and it's going to bring in more corruption. We got enough corruption here as it is. Shootings. We don't need that betting parlor. You can drive up to Madisonville, Kentucky. That mall's doing good. You can go to Bowling Green. That mall's doing good. You can go over to Evansville. The Eastland Mall's doing good. We need to get our mall. We need to get some businesses back in the mall and get it going good too, like it used to be. We don't need a betting parlor. That is not the solution. I wish y'all hadn't have done that. You know, inflation is high, food prices is high, but yet you're going to give a betting parlor that's going to bring in corruption, you're going to give them a tax break? What about the citizens of Owensboro, of Davis County? I mean, come on. I wish y'all would have really thought this through. It's wrong, it's not right, and my heart is heavy. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. If there's nothing comes for this, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Any discussion about adjourning? If not, good night, Barbara. We are adjourned.